Okay, we're going to call tonight's Board of Selectmen meeting to order December 16, 2025. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We also have Selectman John Gassion. I was going to say John Mastriani. John Gassion. We have Nicole Porter, and we have our admin finance officer, Suzanne Thero. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. So right now we're going to do public comments on non-agenda items. So if there's something not on our agenda that you'd like to say, now's the time to do it. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, nothing online? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 2nd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written for December 2nd.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes 3-0. Selectmen comments. Is there any comment by either selectman this evening on anything that's on your mind?
Yeah, we haven't met since Wreaths Across America. Just, yeah, one of the best times of the year for me. So it was a very, very nice. I like how we did, and we divided up this year and did 3 different cemeteries, and just huge shout out to the Grange and everybody that helps to put that together. It's been nice to see both the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts in town out and about at all the different events as well.
Wouldn't you say think there was maybe 75 to 100 people there at the ceremony? 50-ish?
Maybe 50-ish. There were people. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there were more than last year, for sure.
Nice. John?
Yeah, I'd like to say the same thing. The Grange put on a wonderful event. I went up to Pendleton Hill, and there had to be about 30 people there, placing wreaths and stuff. So, and then go back to the Grange afterwards. It was a really nice event. Well planned.
Yeah, I was at the Plain Cemetery. There's about 15. The Congregational Church did that along with Cemetery Commission.
I'd like to thank the band director who played taps.
Thank you.
Not only did he do the ceremony, but he made an effort and went to all 3 cemeteries and played taps with them too. I know we were from Pendleton Hill, but he made it up there to play taps. Place all the wreaths too.
Yeah, his name's Alex Saunders, and I already made sure he's going to be in the Memorial Day Parade with his crew, so we're good.
Yeah.
We can get that 10 degrees warmer.
Right. It was, and just Gary Barron, and I don't know who was with Gary,
Yeah,
but the
I remember
bagpipes
the
for
name.
taps at the main street cemetery was the Wheeler. It was unbelievable.
And I don't know if you've driven by there since, but the wreaths roll out. It really looks nice out there. There's the 2 stands with the 4 wreaths on each one. So it was a nice event. And thank you to the
Definitely.
Grange, as you both said. Okay, so here's the 2 things. One really quick is I met with Leanne Theodore, who's the head of Human Services for the town of Stonington. Probably one of the best off-site meetings I've had in the 4 years I've been here. She was wonderful. We spent about an hour and a half. So much valuable information, which I'll share with you at our next meeting when I put it on the agenda. A lot of handouts, some good advice on how to set what we want to set up as far as the human services division. And I couldn't say enough things nice. And she'd also volunteered to be on our on an interview board for us if we'd like her to do that. So fantastic. Also,
What was her name?
Leanne Theodore. She actually had some property in town. A family member owns some property in town, but she's in Stonington. Their human services comprises senior services, juvenile services, family juvenile services, recreation department, and something else. It's a bigger department than we are.
Definitely.
We're not going to be that big. But also, we have some correspondence I'm going to read from Lori Kavanaugh that sent it to us, and I sent you copies of it. Mostly pertaining to PA 490, but North Stonington Board of Selectmen, the North Stonington, Connecticut, members of the Board of Selectmen, I respectfully submit this comment for public entry regarding the application of Public Act number 24-70 to historic to continuously operating farms within the town of North Stonington. Many Connecticut farms trace their origins to colonial land grants and early town charters dating back to the 1600s and 1700s. These lands were established, worked, and recognized by towns long before the existence of modern state agencies and centralized administrative oversight. Their legitimacy derives from continuous agricultural use, recorded deeds, and long-standing municipal recognition, not from state permission. Article 10th of the Connecticut Constitution protects home rule and preserves municipal authority over land use, agriculture, and property recognition. Any interpretation of Public Act number 24-70 that requires affirmative approval from the state executive agency for pre-existing farmland shifts authority away from the municipalities and undermines the Constitution, this constitutional framework. Public Act 490 was enacted to preserve farmland through recognition of actual agricultural use. It was not intended to impose a new approval regime on land that has been farmed for generations. Transforming recognition into permission reverses the burden of proof and converts a vested property's right into a revocable privilege. More broadly, such as interpretation sets a concerning precedent. Once the state asserts authority to approve existing farmland, it opens up the door to future denials, punitive conditions, selective enforcement, and indirect confiscation through taxation and regulatory pressures. This precedent does not stop with land classification. Conditioning agricultural recognition on state approval invites expanded regulatory reach into core farming operations, including the potential seizure or destruction of livestock, game, or poultry, and the forced vaccination or treatment of animals without practices that they further, without meaningful local oversight or due process. These outcomes represent profound intrusions into private property, livelihood, and traditional agricultural practices, and they further erode municipal authority under home rule. I respectfully urge that the Public Act number 24-70 be interpreted and, if necessary, clarified and amended to automatically grandfather historic farms, preserve municipal authority consistent with home rule, and prohibit state intervention. The proper role of the state is to support towns in protecting their agricultural heritage and family farms, not to override long-established local recognition, expose farmers to punitive enforcement, and expand centralized control over land and animals that have been stewarded locally for generations. Thank you for your consideration and preserving local authority in Connecticut's agricultural history. Respectfully submitted, Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh, 1 Pinewoods Road, North Stonington, Connecticut, on December 13th. So that's what I have for correspondence. Okay, next we're going to have our presentation. I had set some guide rules for this. They're up on, if you want to see what they are. If you didn't take one, they're up there on the counter. Lori, thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate this. As I said to you a minute ago, this board likes to listen, discuss, reflect, and decide. And sometimes that takes some time because we want to listen to everything we can listen to. But I appreciate you coming this evening. You know much more about this subject than I do, and you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to refer to the materials that are passed out, and I greatly appreciate the town doing that because those materials are not what I'm going to regurgitate tonight. So please take a copy of everything up there because it's the law. It is provides a lot of substantiation to what I'm going to say, but I just don't want to repeat myself, and this is a very complex and it appears somewhat controversial issue right now. I just want to say thank you to the Board of Selectmen for inviting me to speak on this important topic. My name's Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh. I'm a resident and property owner in North Stonington and the founder of Connecticut Law Initiative. I established this organization to promote constitutional compliance across Connecticut's governing institutions, non-governmental organizations, and trade associations. Most people do not realize, although some in this room will know now, that law, LAW, is a acronym, and it stands for land, air, and water. And those are the foundational principles of natural law reflected in Genesis in our constitutions. I'm a former congressional candidate in the 64 towns of Connecticut's 2nd Congressional District. Not running for anything. I'm proudly unaffiliated with any political party. And the views I express today are derived directly from those experiences, having lived and worked for the majority of my life in the urban centers of New London. I wasn't raised a farmer. And for 4 years in Norwich, as well as from decades of working across diverse communities throughout this district. I'm also a licensed real estate broker and a former federal housing and urban development HUD contractor. I served communities across New London, Wyndham, Middlesex, and Tolland counties through the foreclosure crisis, and it was horrific, actually. Prior to my retirement, my client base consisted primarily of first-time homebuyers, with approximately 65% of my clients being minorities. Through that work, I gained extensive firsthand experience being employed by the working poor households. And I understand how housing policy affects real people on the ground. My husband and I purchased the horse rescue on Pine Woods Road, and I have spent the past 3 years with him protecting that land from development, even though I'm a developer. While renovating and restoring our 1830s farmhouse, a property that was considered a tear down by, I think, just about everybody. The town we chose to retire in, North Stonington, has now been overtaken by state and regional governance, and our land has been subjugated to decision-making by unelected corporatist entities operating outside meaningful local accountability. That can't stand. It really places a wrench in our plans for retirement. So the Connecticut Law Initiative, which didn't originally tackle this issue but has embraced it, invokes constitutional law, not merely statutory law, because the Constitution of the state of Connecticut and the Constitution of the United States are the supreme law. Statutes, regulations, and administrative actions, which you all deal with, they only derive their legitimacy insofar as they comply with the constitutions. I hope you all realize that is a legal fact. Nothing legitimate about HB 8002 going off the script is legitimate unless it is under the constitutions and it complies with those things. So I'm here today because legislation such as House Bill 8002, along with recent changes to the farmland, which I greatly appreciate you reading that information because that's equally important in not getting any attention across the state right now. But we are so fortunate in North Stonington that our first selectman really is in touch with farmers and understands how this is affecting us. I'm here because this legislation truly does change farmland and land use laws. It directly undermines local governance, our selectmen, threatens municipal home rule, which is part of our laws, and represents the most urgent and sweeping consolidation of land use power in the history of this state, placing lawful decision-making in North Stonington at immediate risk. This issue is not partisan, it is structural. It concerns who governs our town, the people closest to the land or centralized authorities who are unelected, corporatist, and accountable primarily to profit rather than the people they govern. Why this matters? Well, this is not a hypothetical concern. The changes enacted through this House bill and related land use and farmland legislation are already in effect. I can cite several across the state that I heard about today, and reshaping how decisions are made in Connecticut towns, usurping local zoning. It's happening instantaneously. It's been planned for a while, and that's what's happening. So for the first time in our state's history, core land use authority is being removed from municipalities and transferred to regional and administrative bodies that are not locally elected and not directly accountable to the residents who bear the consequences of their decisions. As a former federal HUD contractor, I want to be very clear. Housing policy does not fail because towns resist it. It fails when policy is imposed without regard to infrastructure, environmental capacity, or the people who actually live in the community, which is what this bill does. Home rule in Article 10, the constitutional firewall. This is our little toolkit of laws that protect us in the town of North Stonington. Article 10th of the Connecticut Constitution exists for this exact moment, for today. Home rule is not a courtesy granted by the legislature. It is not. It is a constitutional firewall designed to prevent centralized authority from overriding local judgment, local knowledge, and local accountability. Municipal powers are to be liberally construed in favor of the town, our Constitution. Once land use authority is removed from a municipality, every other local decision becomes advisory at best. No more teeth. House Bill 8002 crosses the constitutional line. It does not merely encourage housing, it compels compliance with regional planning schemes that override local zoning authority, environmental safeguards, and municipal discretion. I'm an expert on eminent domain from New London. I know the Supreme Court, Kelo versus the City of New London, like the back of my hands. When land use authority is centralized, farmland and open space are no longer treated as assets to be preserved. They are treated as inventory, land banks to be reassigned when state priorities change. Statutory protections, including in perpetuity clauses, that language does not bind the legislature. Once zoning authority is removed from towns, those protections become conditional and vulnerable. Eminent domain is no longer, it would no longer require overt seizure. It occurs automatically through regulatory pressure, forced rezoning, and economic infeasibility. North Stonington, maybe the most important statement, is not an interchangeable planning unit. We rely on private wells and septic systems. Our aquifers recharge slowly. My entire family can tell you our aquifers recharge slowly. Our roads, emergency services, and infrastructure are scaled for a rural population. These are not policy preferences, they are physical facts. Once groundwater is depleted or contaminated, no statute can reverse it. Environmental collapse does not announce itself in advance. This concern that I have is heightened by statewide initiatives advanced by the Lamont administration, promoting water-intensive data centers and large-scale energy projects that place unprecedented strain on local water supplies. These facilities require enormous and continuous water consumption for cooling, while also driving the installation of acres upon acres upon acres of industrial solar arrays that permanently alter open space, fragment farmland, and disrupt ecosystems under the banner of climate policy. These projects are often justified through alignment with the United Nations climate initiatives and international sustainability frameworks that are not accountable to the people in this room or in Connecticut. The manufacturing supply chains and economic benefits of these programs disproportionately advantage foreign interests, while the environmental costs, land costs, and water depletion are borne locally. North Stonington did not consent to become a resource colony for regional, state, or global agendas. Local land, water, and environmental stewardship decisions must remain under local control, where consequences are livable and irreversible. It must also be stated for the record that much of the regional planning now influencing land use decisions in Connecticut is being driven through organizations such as Diversify Connecticut. While presented as an equity-based planning, these programs raise serious constitutional and civil rights concerns. United States Supreme Court precedents on disparate impact prohibits government action that intentionally or functionally or financially sorts populations by race, even when framed as policy objectives. It's against the law and is unconstitutional. Public funds are being directed to target, steer, and redistribute minority populations in a sanctuary state into specific geographic areas through housing and zoning policy, rather than allowing organic, voluntary settlement driven by individual choice. The communities most affected are towns like North Stonington, where families and Native Americans for generations untold have farmed, stewarded, and inhabited these lands. Replacing one population by policy mandate is not lawful planning. It is social engineering, and it conflicts directly with constitutional protections, civil rights jurisprudence, and municipal home rule. The question before this body is not whether these policies exist. It is how North Stonington chooses to reply. I am suggesting, one, we place formal objections into the record, formally object to House Bill 8002, because it conflicts with Article 10th of the Connecticut Constitution and undermines municipal home rule. Appoint a charter exploratory commission. The Board of Selectmen may appoint a charter exploratory commission to investigate and report to the residents of North Stonington how best to strengthen and protect the town's home rule authority. I am respectfully requesting to serve on that commission to assist in evaluating charter options. I identify constitutionally compliant law firms to support the charter process and recommend lawful mechanisms to establish a durable firewall against state overreach through proper assertion of local powers. I believe North Stonington needs to adopt a home rule resolution. I gave a copy of one suggested. It can be changed to reaffirm local zoning authority and constitutional limits on delegating planning power, that we require constitutional review before compliance, condition implementation of state or regional mandates on constitutional review prior to compliance or the expenditure of public funds, that we protect our farmland, water, and infrastructure, and strengthen ordinances grounded explicitly in home rule and local public health authority, that we demand transparency, which is 8002. We're not even allowed to petition or complain. Whatever they're going to do to us, you have no choice. We need full transparency from regional bodies and third-party organizations influencing planning, including funding sources, decision-making authority, and legal jurisdiction. There's a large money pot that's involved in this. We have seen across the country a lot of corruption happening involving these nonprofit organizations that get involved with this quasi-public distribution of money for whatever they're planning. How about in closing, North Stonington must insist that progress remain lawful, accountable, and rooted in this community that has stewarded this land for generations. Once land use authority is lost, it's not going to return. That is why this moment matters and why silence is consent. And thank you all for your time, for listening. That comprises the entire presentation.
Lori, you hit the note right on the nose. I told you 15 to 20, perfect timing on your part. So thank you.
Oh, I thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So with that said, now we allotted some time for questions. If you would like to come to the podium, state your name, say that, don't go anywhere because you're going to answer the questions. If you have a question for Lori about what she's talked about, please come to the podium, state your name, where you live in town. This would be for North Stonington residents. There'll be time outside of the meeting if you want to get a hold of Lori. There's the corridor is nice and warm and well lit, and you can talk to her for as long as the meeting goes on afterward. But if you're a resident and you have a question for Lori, please come to the mic, ask your question, and Lori will try to answer it for you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that you said, Brian? Do you have a question? Okay, you'll save your comment because that'll be for the next meeting, because this is not public comment on this subject. But questions you can have. Can you? Okay. Is there anybody online that has a question? Yeah. Brian, if you can say your comment and raise your voice at the end so it sounds like a question maybe.
Brian Rathman, 263 Grindstone Hill Road. I didn't know if you had heard of any of the organization 169 Connecticut Strong. And I didn't know if you knew what the Connecticut Council of Small Towns had said about HB.
Lori, could you do me and just use that mic if you could? The one on the table, you can just drag it down there. That way we can, everybody can hear the answers to your questions. Thank you. So Brian asked if you knew what cost was, which is the Council of Small Towns, and how they addressed the HB 8002. And I think he also wanted to know if you knew who Connecticut 169 Strong was. Push the button. There it is. It's on.
Oh, wow, great. Yes, I'm very familiar with 169 Strong. I think been around for a while. I'm not exactly sure. You know, some organizations are political. I'm not political. I'm really based on constitutional law. And so that is an activist organization. There's a lot of gubernatorial candidates out there taking advantage of this bill for talking points. I don't even pay attention to a darn thing they say. So I am familiar with them, but I've really been focused on our research and working with incredibly talented and smart people to put this forth.
Okay. Brian, do you have another question? Or?
Yeah, can I elaborate a little bit
Sure,
on that?
sure.
Just if anybody in the audience or in our town want to check that out, it's Connecticut 169strong.org, and they will tell you about many things with this bill that I'm not allowed to comment on. The other one is cost. That's Connecticut Council of Small Towns. And I don't know if you've written them or anything, but I was told that they support this bill. And when I wrote to them, they said it was a bit misleading to say they support it.
Interesting.
They said they signed off on the legislation as a compromise measure, and I don't think that. Do you think we should compromise on this bill?
Again, we're talking about two approaches. One is to implement our laws and our rights through the court system, and the other, and to enforce our laws versus paying attention to all the actors that are involved. The actors are what distract us. So we have people like the governors. There's a governors association. They are directly aligned with the United Nations. I mean, I can get into the global conspiracies. They're not conspiracies, they're facts. It's all in record and on their websites. But there's so many actors involved from Illinois, just in Connecticut. Governor Lamont has involved many, many nonprofits. Our zoning is going to be determined by people from New Haven that are in their nonprofit organizations, people from Illinois that work for the United States. I think it's called Communist Party USA. These are a lot of actors, heavy hitters with lots of money, and that money is what gets funneled and is getting stolen, and the taxpayer is just getting raped. So all these organizations are working for whatever makes them money. We're not working for profit. We don't get paid. We're dedicating our lives to the constitutions, and the 250th anniversary of our country is a great year to do it. But people in this room have been denied knowledge of civics and the law intentionally. So we're trying to put it on the table. This is not made up. I don't care what any other organizations do, because I'm going directly to the court system. That's why Connecticut Law Initiative is designed to say, hey guys, these are your tools. They're your laws. Take advantage of them. In politics, I just feel like it really messes up the conversation. That's why I'm not unaffiliated. I think that this board serves us in a way that is so important, especially the great job that they do, which I think there's people in this room that have been treated so poorly by their towns. It's like going to another universe. But this is the way government should be. This is the way democracy should be. HB 8002 is not the way democracy should be. We will have no say. So how do you stop it? What steps can you make? You have to do a proclamation. I don't care what 169 strong is. They've never done a proclamation. Proclamations are up there. You should pick one up and read it. We should do a resolution. We should take advantage of all of our legal tools and stand our ground. It doesn't matter what party you're from. Do you want to be ruled by people that don't come from here, that have an agenda to make money, and that are going to basically rape our land? And I'm telling you, the data centers, the climate agenda, the solar panels, all that stuff, it's such poison. We can see the windmills just falling apart. There was another one that fell into a cranberry bog in Massachusetts. It is such a train wreck. And it's just, the whole world is jumping off that train, but not the state of Connecticut. So North Stonington, you have all the guidelines. What we don't have is a constitutional attorney. That is a huge problem that the Connecticut Bar Association has invented so that we can't have access to our rights. So in DC and across the country, there are people that exist that would benefit multiple towns in Connecticut, but we need someone who can actually do the work, or we can do it ourselves with the right type of process. So we have to make the first steps. The proclamation, all of the zoning, everything is in your hands. I'm not dictating how it happens, but nobody outside of this room is going to fix this problem. So you can go on Facebook and talk all you want. I try to stay as hell away from it. Also, I get censored a lot. So what I'd really like to do is I'd really like to educate. That's why I'm here.
Laura, your contact information is on all your papework. I'm
Yeah, and
pretty
I
sure.
have business cards. They're in my purse, Tim, if you want it. My wonderful husband, Tim. And we're on the corner of Pine Woods and Dennison. You know, I really love being a part of this community. I love my neighborhood so much. And I don't want to move, and I don't want you guys to step away from this. I want you to say, no, we're not participating. Bob, as a COG person, I have no idea how you handle all this or maneuver it, but I know that a lot of people across the state, as you know also, are discussing this from a lot of different perspectives. And I greatly appreciate the respect you've given me tonight to be able to put forth this information.
You're welcome. Brian, any other questions? Brian,
Yes.
there'll be other times that this is on the agenda. It's just so we have other things on the end of this evening, so,
Just one point of interest.
sure.
Today, back in 1773, was the Boston Tea Party. So
Oh
I
my
liken that
goodness.
to this,
Thank you, Brian.
because we really should have the spirit that our ancestors had with this HB 802.
Thank you, Brian.
You're absolutely right.
Is there any other questions for Lori? Tim?
Uh-oh.
Good evening. Tim Kavanaugh, One Pine Woods Road, my significant other. Today I was out engineering Christmas tree lights, so I had not heard this yet. So I was hearing it for the first time too. One question I have for Lori, and possibly if it can also, Bob, you can also interject on that one, is I'd like to understand that what's the difference between chartered and unchartered? And Lori, why are you asking for us to possibly look to go to being a charter town?
Bob, you want to talk about that?
So I've just started looking, we've looked at being a charter town in the past, before my time. I have read pros and cons about becoming a charter town. I know one of the cons is that when you're a charter town, government can change easier in a charter town than it can in a non-charter town. Charter town relies a lot on government, on state statute, as well as our ordinances. But I know you can do things like term limits, and you can also have more petitioning and changing of government in a charter town. The only two charter towns around here that I know of are Ledyard and Stonington.
New London is chartered.
Well, I don't count them, they're not near here.
Oh, please.
So, but of the towns
Other side
around
of the
here,
bridge.
but North Stonington, Preston, Griswold, Ballintown, Sterling, they're all non-charter. Most of the smaller rural towns are non-charter. A lot of the bigger towns are charter. I think right now there's about 118 charter towns, and the balance is uncharted. Assuming is uncharted.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's something that I think that each administration should look at, including this one.
Okay.
Something I will look into it. I just started looking into it again. It wasn't something I was involved in years ago when we looked into it last time. Maybe things have changed, but whatever we want to do, whether it be charter or uncharter, we want to do what's best for the town. And then that's the way we'll look at it, so.
So just to expound on that, and which I think it is wonderful that you're open-minded to this type of town setup. I put together Home Rule in Connecticut. It's an executive statement, but prior to Home Rule, Connecticut municipalities were constrained by what was called Dillon's Rule. And that was that we were a creature of the state doctrine, and that was changed. In 1964, there was this publication that I'm referring to. What they did was they said that the entire state of Connecticut said, we're just in a quagmire. Nothing's working. These towns can't get an answer to anything. So we're going to let them have home rule. So this is a recent, actually, 1957 and beyond home rule. The Home Rule Act, an actual act, empowered municipalities because it was so messed up. And so why would we want to return to that same messed up situation, which is even worse because there's another agenda today. But what I wanted to say is the charter, what it allows is us to revisit all the zoning in town, maybe because the last housing plan I saw is quite old now. But also look at, how do we want to approach these different things to protect the farms? Because I think the food resource, the agricultural resources are priceless. It's like a mineral, it's like gold. And I don't think the state gives a darn.
So Lori, I don't want to cut you off per se, but I
okay.
think that's a discussion for another evening, charter versus non-charter.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to discuss it, nor the selectmen prepared to listen to it because it's not on the agenda.
Thank you.
But I will promise you this, that it's something that we will look into because it makes sense to look into it. Why are so many towns charter towns and why are so few towns still non-charter? So
Can I just say that 130 towns by 1960 decided to have a charter?
yes, great, thank you. One statement about PA 400, then we're going to move on, is there's a local farmer in town, Kim Gravalia, who owns 100-acre woods, and she has set up on social media a website. I think it's called CTPA 490, and
Oh, awesome.
she already has 180 farms signed up. It's a private site. You have to petition to get onto it. I did send her some information that you sent me. I sent it to her, and she thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
So she's up on Northwest Corner Road. She is a a Texas Longhorn Ranch is what they have up there. Yeah, she was in my office with her husband, very upset about the PA 490 and the increase in values for both scrubland, which is basically the worst farmland you can have. Basically, cows can walk on it, that's about it. And also pasture land. Land went up by over 2,000%, from $40 an acre to $970 an acre. And I think pasture land went from 200 and something to 400 and something, or something like that. So both large increases. And that makes us very, very tough for farms that are trying to hang on to when they have those kind of values, and why did those increase? So it is something I'm working on. I know it's something she's working on. If you look up 100-acre woods or reach out to her, you might be able to have a conversation. I don't know if you know her or not or met her,
Not yet.
but she's in North Stonington.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions up here? Online, no? So it's okay, we're gonna move on now, just because I mentioned it. If, Laura, if you want to speak to people in the room that want us to talk to you more about your initiative, the hallway's free, and it'll be free until we end the meeting, which probably won't be for another half hour to 45 minutes. Okay, thank you. Ledgely Health District donations from opioid funds. So in your packet, you'll see that right now we have $45,691.09. Now, opioid funding is, for those that not sure what this is this is funds that we received when we had class action suits. The state of Connecticut, I signed on to this 4 years ago that we would be involved in this class action. Since then, we've got anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000 per year. But when this goes into this fund, we can only use it for drug prevention, drug consultation, recovery. We have in the past, we gave, I think, $5,000 to Reliance Health out of Norwich. We recently gave $5,000 to SERAC out of Norwich also, who are working on programs for North Stonington. And most recently, you'll see a email in your packet from Jen Mungio from our Ledgely Health District. And they're looking to put on a seminar, almost like a dinner seminar that would involve North Stonington, I think the Mashantuckets, and one of the towns, I think Ledred. And they're saying to us that they'd like to have us approve, getting approved from up to $2,000 of opioid funding to give to Ledgely so they can have this event. Be open to all 4 of the towns that would be involved. And if you'd like to have this event, they're asking, would we be willing to donate that money through our opioid fund? Again, I can't buy trucks with it. We can't do anything. We can't repair buildings with it, but we can use it for prevention. And that's what she's hoping to do with this money. So, Nicole, I don't know, being a liaison on their board, if you've known about this.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
can you speak on it quickly?
I think that they are Ledgely Health District with all of the grant and funding that is in jeopardy is really struggling. So when we sit in those board of directors meetings and we're really kind of talking about services that are being cut, people that are needing to be laid off, this came up, and I really kind of urged her to reach out to us. In fact, I'm kind of surprised, knowing that there's so many restrictions on this money. I'm kind of surprised that other entities are not reaching out more proactively for towns funding. So I am in complete support of it. It's something that we've been talking about in our meetings with Ledgely, and they have existing programs and people in place, and funding is in jeopardy. So I think that they could absolutely put this money to good use.
And just to be clear, these funds are not tax dollars. These funds are coming from
Correct.
settlements with big pharma, meaning people like Moderna and like Pfizer, these big companies, even companies like CVS and Walgreens had giant settlements because of the opioid settlements. That's where the money comes from. It goes into an account. It's very restricted, as you said. So we're not asking taxpayers for this money. We're asking, this is money coming from large drug companies. So they're looking for up to $2,000, not to exceed $2,000. And I would, John, do you have any comment before we entertain a motion?
I did see on the email though that they were gonna open this up to the EMS providers and stuff, have they reached out to our ambulance crews and our fire department? Or have they knocked out far enough time?
No, I think they have a commitment from North Stonington, Ledyard, Stonington, and they're holding this event at the Mashantucket. It's like the museum is where they like to hold it. Once they get the commitment financially from the three towns of us, Ledyard and Stonington, then they will then formalize it and send out invites. I'm not sure it's only open to those people. I think there's going to be, it'll be open, more of a general opening, I believe. So I'll get,
Opioid education.
yes.
Do we have any idea how long this money will be continuing to come to us?
We don't, and I don't, seems like every year so far, the last 4 years, they've made additional settlements with other companies. The most recently was the drugstores like CVS and Walgreens. Prior, it was Pfizer and Moderna and the bigger companies, Johnson & Johnson. So I don't imagine there's that many more. I can't imagine there's that many more, but there's the amount of money in there is pretty healthy.
Mhm.
And we have not made any, I think so it's 40, let's say it's 45,000 now. I think we committed 5,000 to Reliance Health, 5,000 to CEREC. This would be 2,000 to Ledgelight. I think we gave 1,000 to a single person who needed counseling. Again, all things that came to the selectmen we voted on. But so if you add those up, this would be $13,000 that we're giving. We still have a balance of right now 45,000. And again, not taxpayer money and not something I can use for anything else.
How much, not to exceed 2,000?
Yeah, she's asking for a donation of not to exceed $2,000, and she's going to ask the same thing of Ledyard and Stonington and Mashantucket.
Okay. John, are you out?
No, I'm all set.
I'll make a motion to give Ledgelight Health District up to $2,000 of our opioid money for services that they'll be putting together on drug prevention.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion with the selectmen? Is there any comment by anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this before we take action or vote? Seeing none, nothing online? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will let Ledgelight know that that's affirmative, and I'll email her tomorrow. Thank you so much. I think that is a worthy cause for this money. Next, sports bubble grant resolution. I wish Emily Lewis was here because she wrote the grant. This was on our agenda maybe 2 meetings ago, and I pulled the plug on it at that time because I wanted more information from the developers. So what they're looking to do is, let's backtrack. Sports bubble was a bubble that we've looked at, started looking at about 6 months ago. When Mystic Indoor Sports closed, they left a big void in this part of the state as far as sports activities, indoor sports activities. If you have any children that play sports, or if you did in the past, you know you had to drive to Montville, or you have to drive to Warwick, Rhode Island. Nothing close. This would be, I went to a meeting after Mystic Indoor closed with Danielle Cheeseborough from Stonington and John Burt from Groton, and they said, you know, how do we fill this hole? And they said, to go back into your town and think about if you have any town property and if we could get any grants. So as I'm driving back, I'm thinking about a piece of property that these people in town have owned for 7 years and never did anything with it. They've had ideas of what to do, but I don't know if they've ever had the correct idea. So I floated this by them and they gravitated to it, and they've come back and it's a much bigger project than it was originally. So we've had meetings with them. We have 2 meetings a month. One is just, there's 5 municipalities, or the core municipalities that would be involved in this. Make no mistake, this is in North Stonington. So any tax ramifications as far as us getting tax is North Stonington, not any of the other towns. However, Stonington, Ledyard, North Stonington, Griswold, and Preston are involved. We've been meeting monthly with the developers and meeting monthly amongst ourselves. And the idea is to see, because for this to work, it has to be a true partnership, not a financial partnership. True partnership as far as like, what can we do to make this happen? But we're not going to be financially obligated to it. We may be obligated to it in the time we use it. So if our rec department, if our AAU teams, if our high school sports teams, middle school sports teams want to use an indoor facility, this would be available at, obviously, at a price. We are talking everything from discount pricing for the 5 municipal towns that are the core towns that are trying to make this happen. But the best way for them to understand that this is a partnership between municipalities and the developers is through a grant that only we can get, because we're the host town, they cannot get. So I asked Emily to look into the grant. It's called a CIF, as in Charles, Irene, and Fern. And Preston goes for these grants all the time. We have never done a CIF grant. And we looked into doing and see what would our exposure be if we did this. You'll see in the packet that I gave you, number 2, the board acknowledges that Domex Development LLC shall bear all costs associated with the preparation, submission, and administration of this said grant, and that the town shall not be required to expend or commit any municipal funds in connection with this process. So once again, we have no financial stake in this game. All we're doing is lending North Stonington as the grant, asking for the grant so this has the appearance of and is a true partnership between the municipalities and Domex. They've asked us, according to the grant, CIF has asked us if we would do a resolution with the selectmen to say, yes, we support applying for this grant. We didn't have time to do it before we actually applied, but now they're saying we'll take the resolution in hindsight if you're willing to do it now. So if you want to just take a minute, I sent this in the packet with you. You got this, again, 2 meetings ago that we tabled it. But if there's any questions you have on it, or if there's any reason why we would not want to support this resolution, I still have to have Antoinette, the town clerk, stamp it and then notarize it. But again, there's no obligation for monies from the town. It could be something that would be it's a wonderful thing could be a wonderful thing for the town and the region. It's down there where the Fox Trails Inn used to be. So it's almost on the North Stonington Ledger line on Route 2 going towards the casino. So it's not anywhere near the village. It's not anywhere near residential. It's just as a vacant piece of land that rests at the bottom of the hill where Winter Hill Road is on Route 2. They own 67 acres. This would probably take about 8 to 10 of those acres if this was to happen. And if there any questions about it?
So I just want to kind of talk it through out loud. So we, the town of North Stonington, is not applying for the grant.
No, we are.
We are applying for a $25 million
No,
grant.
It's a $50 million project. It's a 100% match. So we're applying for the initial $25 million, correct? Applying. That doesn't mean we're accepting or spending, but we're applying.
So if we approve to submit for the grant, and then if we are given the $25 million, we would enter into some type of an agreement with, is it
Domex.
Domex?
Yes.
We would enter into some type of an agreement, but would not. Okay, I
No, I get
have
it.
to process.
So
it a
let me
little
just,
bit
so
more.
we enter, my idea
It
would
makes me
be,
nervous. I'm not gonna.
no, we'd
I'm not
enter an
gonna lie, just
agreement
trying
that
to
would say if
understand.
we got the grant for $25 million, that it would not be $1 spent out of that grant until they spent their $25 million first.
So what would happen, because the last iteration, right, you and I talked just briefly because you were able to go to the meeting. The last iteration looked like it was getting like kind of so out of, like huge, like really big indoor water park and everything.
And
What-
and that's the $47 to $50 million project. Because the reason we didn't work on this 2 meetings before when I tabled this, because I was not happy with that growth either. What happened to the $12 to $15 million project? How did it become a $47 million project? And that's when they included a restaurant and they included a game room and they included high-end locker room and those
Yeah.
kind of things in a pool. So this this is the high end. Rather than go back to multiple grants, this is the high end ask. I'll be honest with you, Nicole, I don't think they've ever given out a grant this high for CIF. I don't imagine we're gonna get it. But sometimes you go through a motion thinking that at least we'll try, we'll go through the motion. If we don't get this grant, the developers have said, and John was there, that they're gonna move forward with this project anyway, but then the town will not get the same, we'll still get our taxes, but not gonna get the same discounts on usage, and we will not have as much control.
So that's what I want to really truly understand. If we, and what would be the cost to apply for the grant? I mean, what would it be out of our budget?
Well, you're looking at the cost of resources. So you have a grant writer, it's a lot of hours putting the application in. The town would be administering the grant throughout the whole process. That's a cost of resources. And then the tail end of it is if they do get the funds, who's going to process those expenses? Is it gonna come from the town? Are they gonna get the bucket of money and process it on their own? And these grants have a lot of stipulations also on how the money can be spent, who's gonna manage that? I mean, how involved is the town gonna be to make sure it's being spent properly?
So
And
I will say this though, Suzanne, where if you look at number 2 again, that they're gonna bear all costs associated with the preparation, which is
Oh,
a
okay.
rebatement of hours, submission, and administration. So if we have someone keeping track of those hours, we would bill them back for that time. So it would not cost the town anything except for usage of the facility.
Okay. Okay. So that answers that question. And they've already agreed to that.
Yes,
Okay.
they wrote this. not
They,
me.
okay. So I would want to fully understand just what kind of discount, right? I mean, listen, North Stonington schools, we do the best we can with that budget every single year, but things are clearly tight. So I want to make sure that if we go through, even if it's no dollars out of our pocket for the resources, certainly there's the decisions that have to be made later on as far as administering the grant and how we work with Domex. But I would really want to know in writing what they're going to promise and how much they're going to value what that we're going to be helping them fund half of their project. To me, we should have a huge stake in what we can do in that complex.
So I agree with you, and I think that this should be a town decision. So once, not the resolution, because we're just having a resolution saying we'll apply for the grant. I'm asking permission, can we apply for the grant? If we do have the grant, this should be a town decision with, as you said, a contract in writing saying that this is what's stipulated. Again, the nice thing that we have, kind of the ace in the hole, is the fact that this project is in North Stonington and is taxable. So the other 4 towns can't have tax from this property because they're not in their towns, it's in North Stonington. So that's something we automatically have off the top. So imagine this is a $47 million project. And what are the taxes on that project? You know, what do we get from a large solar field? It would be much more than that. So I'm thinking that, yes, if we agreed to go for the grant and we got it, then I think the next discussion is what kind of a contract do we want? Bring it to a town meeting, to the town approval, even a referendum if needed. This is such a big project, even a referendum if need be. And the town should not be obligated for any funding, any kind of this secret behind the scenes, backroom deals. This should be all totally transparent and open. And I don't think that we owe it to the citizens of North Stonington to never sign on to something that has, well, maybe if this happens, this will happen. Or if we do this, we'll get this. It should be concrete. And we should also, when this question was asked, I think, I don't know if it was you, John, or somebody asked it, if this whole thing went belly up, say 5 years from now, this goes belly up, what's the town on the hook for? And they said in the meeting, absolutely nothing. We're the ones on the hook. So we would need to have that in writing also.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
and remember that
And-
question was asked, right?
And not to be greedy, but if we fund through the grant half of their project, does that not make us?
So we wouldn't be funding.
No,
The
not
state
the
would be
town of North
funding,
Stonington.
right.
But without us, it sounds like without us, they plan on trying to get the funding that they can elsewhere and still move forward. But if we are able to get the grant, and they wouldn't necessarily have that 25 million without us. If it actually is incredibly profitable, I think have we talked to Rob Avina at all, or
Uh,
from a
it-
legal
Yeah, but not in
standpoint?
not in depth. So what they did address that is they would like to make the 5 core towns partners as far as that goes. So if they, whatever revenue they took in, it would be a 70-30 split. Again, this is just early talking stages. So the towns, the 5 towns would split the 30% profit they would keep 70%, the towns would split the other 30. Split between whatever core towns are involved in the process. Right now, there's 5. Doesn't mean that someone might drop out and then there'd be 4. Right now, there's 5, and then the towns would then decide on who's using it the most and how would they benefit. So let's say that Griswold's using it way more than the other 3 towns. They would probably get a bigger number out of the 30%. Again, we're getting the taxes that nobody else is getting. So right off the bat, we're getting
What are the other towns putting forward that they are?
there's nothing they can put forward because we're the town that it's
So why
hosting.
would Domex give them 30% of the
They're putting
profits?
together though with their recreation committee and their usage. So they're,
It would be the business
it
that
would
the
be their
5 towns
business,
would bring them.
hours that they
Okay,
would use between their schools,
okay,
their recreation departments and stuff like that. That's what they would be actually putting
Okay.
forward, not land or even
And they're
applying for
looking,
the grant.
and they were looking to make up a board of, from the 5 towns with representation on the board that would oversee at least the hours that we would have. One of our questions was, what if Stonington has flag football on a Sunday from 12 to 5? And this AAU team came in and we're gonna do a tournament. Does that just knock them out? Does that say, oh, Stonington, sorry, we're getting 3 times the money from this AAU tournament. You can't have that. Well, we have to have assurances that can't happen. We're supposed to have a 10-week flag football league. On this day at this time, that's what we should have. We shouldn't be able to get knocked out by somebody else that's just affording more money.
okay,
So-
just one last question.
No,
then
and I'm
I'll
gonna open
start.
up this to the questions anyway. from you.
Yeah, so really all we're deciding right now is whether,
We resolved that we will go for the grant. That's what we're deciding this
Okay.
evening.
at no financial cost to us, but we'd be using our grant writer, but Domex would be funding the resources to prepare and submit.
All right, so let's
The
say
grant.
Emily put in 25 hours working on this in submission. We could bill Domex for that money. If we got the grant, now we have to administrate it. Who's going to do that? So we would also get paid for that.
Okay.
And that's on the second page, number 2.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I'm sure there might be
I-
some questions. Amy, you must have a question about this. No? The mic's already on, so just lower it a little bit. There you go.
Amy French, 41 Babcock Road. I am with Nicole. I have concerns if we are putting all this money and Emily's right in the grant. How are, I know it's 5 people or whatever, 5 towns. Excuse me. But why are they getting money if we're
Because we're trying to do this as a regional project. It's a big project that would cover not just the 5 core towns, but probably the next 5 outside of those.
where is the money coming from that's paying that is going to go to them? Like, where's
Other than the grant money, which would be coming from the state, the rest of the money is coming from the developer. So, yeah, this is like, it's right now, what's the chance of this happening? It might be a 50-50 shot this ever comes to fruition. But it's one of those things that
with North Stonington's luck? It'll be,
it's just one of those things I think it would be so wonderful it happened. So there's 2 ways to look at it.
Yeah.
We can ignore it and it never happens, or you can go down the Yellow Brick Road as far as we can. And eventually somebody might jump off the path. And if enough people jump off the path, then it's probably not going to happen.
no, I think it's a great idea. I'm not against it. I think it's a fantastic idea. Thank you for bringing it to our, our town. But I just have some concerns of why, if we're providing the land, we're providing the grant writer.
So we're not providing the land. They own the land. They own it outright. So
Oh,
it's
they-
their land.
But it's in North Stonington.
It's their land they own in North Stonington. They could do anything they wanted there within planning and zoning reason, correct?
But who is paying Griswold and Stonington? Like, where is that?
So
I'm not
no one's paying
understanding
them at this point, but in revenues, there's a plan right now to split revenues because of the towns working as a shared project between the towns and Domex.
But is there gonna be like a schedule? Like, is there gonna be, like, is North Stonington getting the first choice? Like,
So
how is
again,
that
it's
gonna work?
early on, but having the members from each of probably the 5 rec directors from each of the towns. Right now, the rec directors and the CEOs are the ones going to the meetings. And then we have meetings with just the towns without Domex.
Are rec directors going?
Tom's been at every meeting. Tom's been, Preston, Griswold, Stonington, and Ledger have been at all the meetings. And on occasion, I've been to all the meetings. John's actually been the one. The mayor of Ledger's been. The first select woman of Stonington hasn't, but she sent 2 people from her rec department. Griswold's first selectman's been to 1. And then Sandra's been to a few in Preston. She's been to probably most of them except for the last one. So right now we're all in that. This would be wonderful,
Yeah.
but we're not going to do anything crazy. We're not going to like commit to something we shouldn't commit on. So believe me, we're going to vet out everything. And I want the town to be partners in vetting out. But at this point, we're just saying, will we resolve that? We'll at least go for the grant. And it is,
I just don't want us to be the nice guys and get screwed.
but no, but
Well, I
nor,
think
nor
you-
do I.
Yeah, no, we would.
I don't want
think
that to be
all of
my
those
legacy, that I'm the
details-
one that, I'm the one
Yeah.
that left North Stonington in big
With
debt.
this big, wonderful project. No,
yeah.
I think it's a great project. I
Yeah.
just think that we have to look at like all, I don't know, it's just kind of scary.
I think there's a lot of details that are still up in the air, but something that you said kind of helped me click it all together. There is no harm, I guess, there is no cost to the town to go for the grant.
Except the actual work to put the grant in.
The
right.
work to put the grant in, but that work is going to be compensated. That person who's going to be doing that work is going to be compensated by Domex.
Right, well, the
right?
town will be compensated back because that's an employee of
Okay.
town, right?
So if Domex plans on wanting to move forward with this one way or another, and we don't sign this resolution and we don't try and go for the 25 million, they have already said they plan on trying to move forward and fund it in some other way. To me, if there's no harm and we're not putting the town at any risk of just going for the grant and then giving us a lot more bargaining power, I'm
Yes,
assuming,
I agree.
with Domex, if our grant that we've obtained is going to be paying for half of their complex, that to me, that clinched it for me. I think I feel a little bit better. First and foremost, want to make sure right now with what we're agreeing to, we're not putting the town at any risk, or we're not going to be held to any particular standard. If this is a big if, $25 million. I mean, we're happy when.
I talked to Senator
comes
Summers.
through for, you
Senator
know.
Summers said that's never been given out before that amount of money.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, if the risk is incredibly low, why wouldn't we try to have that bargaining chip with Domex if we can get
I
it?
think what would be a shame is if it's, and not to take credit, but it was my idea, right? So we come up with the idea, they build it, we're not a partner, and now we can't even afford to have our kids use it, and that would be a
So
shame.
that is my biggest, right? So they'll say, and I'm not saying, and I don't want to go on record and saying that Domex is going to promise anything and everything, but we have to look out for the town.
Yeah.
Somebody could say, developer could say, hey, we are absolutely in this with you guys. We're going to make it affordable for your rec and for your schools. And then they get in there and they realize how much money they can really get for the time, and we get crowded out.
Yeah.
So that makes me nervous.
And that was some of the things that we discussed in there, in the meeting I attended, like, we don't want to be bounced out, like Bob said about the AAU teams and stuff bouncing out for a regular rec team.
Yeah.
And I know that would have to be ironed out. That would have to be definitely in a contract that secures that for us. But in their presentation, they were saying, look, they want to keep rec affordable. These 5 towns that can keep their rec prices. So the going price right now, they says between 80 and 100 for a basketball court for an hour.
But are-
That's what they would continue to charge. So if we can iron that out and we have this bargaining chip with them, we could keep it reasonable and still have our rec, get to the top of the line facilities right now.
Amy?
So is this someplace that we could actually bring our rec kids back to North Stonington instead of going to Groton? Like our
So-
basketball, because we have nothing in North Stonington anymore.
So
We don't
I
have
think
Little
that's
League.
more numbers though, isn't it? Is
We
that
don't
more
have-
numbers
Yeah,
of
so
kids?
there's I've also discussed, I mentioned to Tom, is maybe doing a regional rec department with us, Preston and Volantown, and then we could have regional soccer program, regional basketball programs. I pick up 2 gyms by doing that, Preston's and Volantowns, and we can do something more regional, something more similar to what we used to do years ago without driving all the way to Groton. So,
So we just have none of our sports are here anymore. None of our rec,
I know.
it's so sad.
But
But
I
I-
think that's more, I get the impression that's more because of our numbers, that we just can't get enough
Some of it
kids
is
to
numbers.
field. Yeah,
but I think, I can go back and we both know the old days in rec basketball were wonderful.
yeah.
They
So,
were,
um,
Oh
and
my
it's
God,
sad.
I know, my
But I
girls
think
were-
that the,
Heartbreaking.
I know.
but
But I know now that we have to go, I mean, we gotta go to Groton to watch my niece play basketball. And it's the same number.
But wouldn't that be nicer if, not
that's what I'm
Groton,
asking.
but wouldn't recreation, I mean, a regional be better than going to Groton? Like if we had us, Preston and Valentine, all fairly close, you wouldn't mind as much going to Preston or Valentine to watch a game as you would Groton, correct?
I agree.
And they would also come here. So I think that's another,
Come where?
North Stonington, those towns would also come here because it'd be a
If-
regional.
But
If we
where are
got
they
the
going?
dome.
Are we going to this
So
dome?
right now, we're 2 different stories, right? One's a regional rec department, and
Yeah.
one's this bubble.
Yeah,
But right now, we're talking about the bubble. I just want to let you know that there are thoughts about moving to a regional rec department.
okay. And on that subject, where are we going to play our rec games?
Well, if that was the case, it'd be played in, depending on what the teams are, it'd be played North Stonington, Valentine, and Preston, depending on.
I
the-
know, I understand that, but where are we playing our
The
basketball game?
locations would be one of the 3 cities. So maybe you're playing North
I know,
Stonington,
but
so
if
they'd be
we're in
playing
North
at this
Stonington,
gym.
where are we playing in North
Oh, I
Stonington?
would imagine the gymatorium, like we used to.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm asking. Why don't we do it now?
I'm not the rec
Numbers.
director. I'm not sure. I
We're
don't
saying
think, I'm not
numbers
the
right
rec director.
now.
I don't think we have enough kids to have our own
Yeah.
league like we used to. We used to have almost 400 kids playing
I
basketball.
know.
Hmm.
I know.
So, but again, that's another question
It
for another
is.
night.
I agree.
But as
It's
far as
just-
this goes, I guess it's a really good, I
I
mean,
think it's a fantastic idea.
it's a great possible opportunity. I would hate to just ignore. But at the same token, we're not going to go down some path that's going to be the path of no return. Now we're stuck.
And
So,
I think the other thing is, I know, Brian, we have to be really transparent with, and I know you are, I'm not saying you're not. We have to be very transparent and very open with every part of it. Like, it can't be like talking here, talking there. It has to be discussed from the 3 of you.
so when this
openly.
gets to be more, let's say we get the grant and this
Mhm.
becomes more of a reality, because right now it's probably a 50-50
Yeah.
shot. If this becomes more of a reality, then yes, we have to open those discussions up to more of town-wide discussions, because the town would want to know. And even if we're not,
I would just hate for someone to hear half conversations and the wrong information and the wrong conversation and not coming from the 3 of you with such a large project and a large amount of money, and they don't come to a meeting and they're hearing it second, third
So
hand.
Ames, I mean.
I
you-
know,
you
we've done
know
this years and years. I get
There's
it.
only so much that you
No, I
can
know.
control
I,
the social media
Yeah.
and the misinformation, or sometimes just not understanding
yeah.
what's going
that's-
on and making an assumption. I mean, I don't know if we can control that. God only knows. We
I
wish
know.
that we could. When we talk about, I just want to do this in stages. Are you looking to have us vote tonight on moving forward? So if that is what you want, I have another question. If we take this in stages and if we approve to move forward with submitting the grant, we have to be prepared. I'm actually channeling, Brett's not on, but I'm actually channeling Brett in my head. We have to be prepared if we get the grant. We have to make the decision as if, and understand the consequences if we get the grant. And then what happens?
If we get the grant, we have to, it gets awarded and then the town has to sign for it. So that might be a point of time where you talk contract but that is a time sensitive.
Okay, so then my next question is, let's say we get the grant. What if between getting the grant and finalizing conversations with Domex, we don't like the direction that Domex is going, or they change their minds and present a very different situation? What happens to that $25 million? I can think of a lot of things we could do with that.
No,
but,
no, we can't.
what happens to that 25 million if we decide to say, oh my gosh, this makes me so nervous, we're not entering into this?
We tell the state, we
partnership
tell the
with them.
state we're not going to accept it.
So we are not on the hook for
No.
anything. We just choose not to take the
So think of
25
it similar to the steep grant where we said we want to do the irrigation in the sports fields
Yeah.
and now we're not.
Okay.
So
okay.
even though we appropriated that money, now there's no appropriation of funds with this particular grant because we're not on the hook for anything. Where steep grants, we offer 20%. Once we appropriate those funds and decide not to do the project, we just don't get that reimbursement on steep.
Okay.
And are they
No.
still going to reimburse for the grant writer and all that other stuff that we have to pay for?
So
Are they,
So that-
Domex is going to be paying for that.
yes, even if,
So the submission of all of the payment for the grant writing would be done by that point. We would have received reimbursement for everything. Or they would be in breach of this
Just a matter of
resolution,
fact,
right?
the next time they come down, if we're able to present them with a bill, we have Emily's time, I can present them with an invoice. And I mean, we're not talking thousands of dollars. I don't know what it would be, but maybe, I'm guessing 1,000, 1,500 at the most.
Is there a time frame, like the steep grant has a certain time frame before this expires, so we have time? Like, we get approved for the grant, we ain't looking at like 90 days. So Domex doesn't, we don't have time to iron out the details with Domex because we either take that grant and our backs against the wall.
So
I mean, what time frame do we
here's
have
the,
after we?
here's the
accept
thing is
grant?
the grant is a reimbursement grant. So Domex does do the project, then we get reimbursed, right? So it's we don't ever have to take the money.
Okay.
So there's no time, like the steep grants are 4 years. I don't know of a time limit on this.
what is their time limit that they want this to start and to end?
They would like to have at least so we got them to go back a little bit to do stages rather than do the whole project.
Mhm.
And the key is the main bubble, which is, they decreased the size a little bit. I think now it's 450 by 250. It was 600 by 300. So it's 450 by 250. It would be the biggest sports bubble in the state of Connecticut.
But what is their, when?
Oh, they looking, if we get the grant, they'd like to start this in time to have this up within 12 months.
12 months.
That's what they said.
But not,
450
but there's
to
other,
250.
there's other work. We give the bubble, you have to do parking lots and you have to go through planning and zoning.
Yeah.
They have to make sure that everything they're doing is within zoning's rules and regulations. So it's still a process like any other developer that's coming into town that's doing a project.
Mhm.
They still have to use all the town process.
I have a couple of questions too. For the application, I wasn't part of the application process. Did they have to show financials of their share of their portion of this?
So we sent everything that was asked for in the grant, we sent in, that they gave us, it gave the grant information, the information to Emily who sent it in. So that's all part of the grant application, which has been completed,
Financials
yes.
Showing that they have the money for their share.
Well, at least where they're getting it from and how they plan to get it.
So have we already started sending something in to?
We've submitted, but we haven't approved it through a resolution because there was a deadline of being submitted by, it was December 3rd or something. So she put it in there, but still, it's not a complete submission until we do this resolution. If we don't do the resolution, which if we don't do it, we don't do it. This is not a hill I'm going to die on. Believe me, if they want to do the bubble without us, I'm not opposed. I'd rather have it do it with us so we can get more perks out of it. But it's an incomplete application unless we do this, because that's a piece of.
So,
missing.
so just so that I'm clear, Emily's Emily's entered things into the submission process, but kind of not officially hit the submit button. So it's all just sitting there?
Well, it's submitted, but she get an extension on this because I pulled this off our agenda 2 meetings ago, if you remember. But this was on our agenda, and I pulled it off the meeting, so.
So what happens if we don't,
Then it's not an application.
and they're still going to reimburse us
They
for
owe me
Emily's
for the,
time?
they owe us for the time. Because we did submit an application, so they owe us for the time.
When is our next meeting?
January 6th.
So,
If you'd like to table this again, I'm fine.
so I think, I really want to kind of understand what Rob, Avina has to say. I'd like to see if we can engage him in conversation a little bit more and just understand any kind of legal ramifications. And then I would also like, I don't know how much due diligence we've done to really research Domex and
We have. And there's not a lot there. Because
There's-
they've
there's
never
not a
done,
lot out there.
not in this
to-
type, they've never done this kind of a project. They've done projects, but not this type of a
Yeah,
project.
is there, so I think I will do a little bit of just kind of Googling.
I think one key
myself.
to remember is that this is property that they own.
Yep.
It's not like we're saying, if you give us your town property, we're gonna
Yeah.
do this as cheap. We don't have to have any skin in this. They
Yeah.
can do the project without us.
No, and I think that there are benefits. Like, if we can make it work, it would be really, really nice. What if, one of the other questions that I have, sorry, is if they decide they're done with the sports bubble business and they sell it to somebody else, where does that leave
That
the
was a que-
five
that was a-
towns? Where does that leave us?
That was a question. Why could just sell the whole thing to the master tickets?
Yep.
If it's such a great project, then they said, let's bail out of this and we can make a bunch of money on it and leave. The master tickets always looking to be more diverse. In the contract would be anything that was in the sale, if we had a contract with them, that our part of the contract would have to go along with the sale. That's part of the negotiation with Domex. If we can't have that, and there's no guarantee that they don't sell it, or give us a written guarantee that they won't sell it for so many years. Now, they could say for 10 years, we're not gonna sell it. After that, who knows what happened after that? But no matter what happens, Nicole, the project is still in North Stonington, and it's still paying taxes, no matter who owns it. Yes. It was a short question. I could repeat it. You wouldn't have to get up. So they're not official meetings because there's no quorums. We've had them at Preston, we've had them here. We had one here. Most of them were happening in Preston, but John came to the last one, so they usually just, they come in on a Thursday, they just want to get together and meet. But so, I mean, I could start publicizing them more, but at this stage, we're so working through so much of the early minutia in the project that it's, once it gets more firm, I hate to bring a lot of people up for something that's never gonna happen, but once it gets firm, then the town would have to be involved. This is not something. So you're asking, your question is, are these open meetings and should we get people more involved at this stage? And I'm just saying, we could, but I don't know what good it would do. I would rather, if you wanted to come and listen without, sometimes you get too many voices in a room on a meeting, it's not a public hearing. But I mean, if you want to come and listen to the conversation, I would have. We could start having more of a bigger open meeting as we move down the path. Yeah, these have been just such early stage meetings. I mean, they've gone back and forth and the project has changed. I mean, when I recommended a snack bar, it turned out to be a 110-seat restaurant. That's not what I.
And I
wanted,
think
so.
that, John, you had mentioned that they were really just trying to fill space and give people a what if, like, this is what could be. I don't know how, I'm sure it'll change multiple times
That's what they
before.
said. They said that they were trying to fill space to make it look, so they weren't giving a presentation on an open box
Yeah,
and saying, so like one of the rec directors said, they said their key times is 9 to 2, try to fill up spots because kids are in school.
Yep.
Well, they had a picture of an arcade in one of their brochures. Well, one of the rec commissioners had suggested maybe turn that into daycare instead of an arcade. That way, moms and homeschool people could come in and
Yeah.
use the facilities, but they'd have a place for their children to be. And they said, this is all piece. So, when they were talking about it, they said, yeah, we have this piece, and that piece in here. but it's very flexible to what we'll put in there on the community's needs or what the 5 departments decide. This would be better in here. And as long as it's profitable, it's going to be useful for them. They're willing to make that change.
Amy, one other thing I wanted to tell you is the initial kickoff presentation was held in this room, and there was about 50 people at it. And it was well advertised. It was in the journal, it was in the, the day. We had posters around, it was advertised. It was the initial presentation on the sports bubble. And we had people from mostly North Stonington, a few people from Preston. I think Stonington was here, but it was in this room, and they passed out pamphlets and books and so on. So when we kicked this off, we made it public right off the bat. You just missed it. You're probably busy with, you have a few things that you're doing, so.
I just wanted to mention one other thing too. The resources for administering the grant. To do a $500,000 steep grant, all the invoicing, all the reimbursements, all the paperwork behind it is a tremendous amount of work. So you can imagine what $25 million work entails with that, the resources.
I don't
And the
disagree.
limited staff that we have in the finance department. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but just the reality of it is it's just a lot of work. So reimbursement or not, it's, we'd have to account for those resources.
But maybe if this came to fruition, we could take somebody like Emily, who's not doing as much grant writing now because we're going to be doing it differently. And maybe we can almost hire her as someone just to work on this and be almost like she's a per diem to work on this one project, and then they would pay. So
It does include the word, the administration of said grant that they would be responsible for,
is there somebody wanted to speak on
right?
that
The
line?
board acknowledges
Excuse me?
that
Yeah, we do have someone online.
Oh.
correct?
That wants to speak?
shall
Okay.
bear, that Domex Development LLC shall bear all costs associated with the preparation, submission, and administration of such grant application.
Cost, does that mean, and this is part of the contract, is the cost that they're going to reimburse the town, or is the cost, does that mean they're going to have an administrator of the grant? So
Yeah,
we just
so
need
I-
that clarification.
I think we need that clarified, and to make sure that there is some type of tracking of our staff at town hall in the administration of the grant, and that somehow it's an ongoing,
So if we table this, I can speak to the town attorney.
yeah.
And we have another meeting with them coming up. I'm gonna when they usually come in on Thursdays, but since Christmas and New Year's are both on Thursdays, I'm not sure what their schedule looks like, but I'm sure they'll pop into town between now and January 6th. And when they do, I can ask those questions about how, and Sue,
Okay.
you can be in the meeting with me so we can ask them about the administration and so on. So just to ensure that we're getting paid for that. So.
Yeah. Are you, your thoughts on just tabling it until we get,
No, I'm good with tabling it and getting the questions answered. So we have a solid plan going forward, especially with the reimbursement and disbursement. I
Yeah.
mean, just due to employees at the town hall. I mean, I know we could do, like Bob said, we could probably hire Emily, but we got to make sure that we're covered on that side too.
I think that if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it right. And I don't want anybody to worry that when we're leaving here tonight, that there's gonna be questions, unanswered questions, and if we're not clear, then we should wait. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I'd like to do my own deeper dive into Domex, and then would love to just hear what Alina has.
So
to
you're
say.
retiring soon, so.
I'm going to have a lot of
So you can
time
come to the
to
next
do
meeting.
deep dives.
Is-
You're going to
somebody
get
on-
so sick of
who
me at
wants to
town
speak?
hall.
Okay, Brett, you're online, you want to speak?
Yes. Hi, guys. Brett Mastriani, Hangman Hill Road. One thing that I would really want to know as the public is you're talking about the tax revenue it could bring in. What if they build it, sell it to the tribe at some point? The tribe goes through the annexation that they're trying to do with multiple properties, then there is no tax revenue due to the town for that property tax. So I'd really be mindful of that as this process continues. And secondly, I think it'd be nice for the public to know before you even vote to go into this to get grant money is any other projects that Domex or any of their partners have been involved to in the past and what those projects came to fruition and which were just pitches. and research all those other companies that they've been involved with before the town really dives into this and puts any expense on the town, whether they say it's going to be reimbursable or not. Once we put the work in, we bill them, we don't know. It's not like we're working on a retainer. So I'd be very mindful of all this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment? Question? Yes, please.
Ogden Carroll, Wyasset Lake Road. So as a parent in town who spent years driving to Waterford, then Norwich, then Montville for my kids to play sports, as long as there's no cost for the town, I don't see how this can be a bad thing. Just my opinion. Tax revenue, if we get it, great. If we don't, as long as we're not losing tax revenue for the property, I don't see where the downside is really. But again, I certainly understand the concern and share it that we're going to potentially get left holding the bag, and certainly don't want that to happen. I would also look at the casino model that goes to the bunch of money goes to the state, and very little of it, I think, comes to the affected towns. It seems like as a host town, I think Amy said this before, it seems like perhaps the reimbursement of that 30% should be based on, impact more than usage, but that's obviously a detail that's down the road. But I do have one question.
Yes.
If the town applies for a $25 million grant, is there a potential, and this is a lack of understanding on my part on how state grants work, is there a potential the state comes back and says, we will give you 5 million, 10 million, some different amount, or is it 25 million or nothing?
No, I'm pretty sure there's at least one or two cases I heard about where they came in with a smaller amount. So town might have applied for 12 and they got 6. There's been no town that's been granted 25 million. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like you. I think my kids are older. They're not going to be using this.
Mine aren't either.
I might be using it. I'll be using it as a senior to walk around the track or something, but that's about it. But and that's another part I forgot to mention is they want to tie in a big portion of this is to seniors. So our senior center would be able to, they want their pool, they want to do a zero entry pool. And they also want the track would be open up for senior citizens to walk and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of ideas. They keep getting people to throw more ideas at them. I think that's why it's been such a fluid project so far that, that's, like I said, I recommended some sort of a snack bar and it turned out to be a restaurant you'd find in Foxwood. So it's not what I intended. I never intended for a game room, and I do not want an indoor water park. There's one right down the street. So those are the kind of things that we're working as towns now to try to kind of clean up what the finished product might look like. There would also be outdoor facilities with this. They want to put in outdoor tennis courts and pickleball courts and things. So in nicer weather, there's more of a complex that they do want to do something with, so you can belong to it. So you can pay like a membership. So they also wanted to open up the membership so people could use like some of their exercise equipment and play indoor pickleball and things like that. So, but again, everything's gonna have to be scheduled. We're such in the early stages. So like I said, if this was the Yellowbrook Road, pretty much the house just landed on the witch. We're just starting.
Is there a potential that we miss some deadline and the grant application is no longer an option?
No, they said they would wait to see if we would do the resolution. If we don't do the resolution, we're not going to be going for the grant. But Emily's not, she's watching Wheeler play in Portland tonight, so she's not here. She's the one who wrote the grant. I'm not sure if there's a deadline now, but what's between now and January 6th. So good, thank you. Yes.
Hugh Robbins, 5 Old Colony Road. Forgive me if I'm naive, but have you thought about investing some of the town's resources in terms of financial towards this project? Has that, what's the capacity of the town to put some money down? Any project that you invest in now, in 10 years, it's going to pay out tenfold. I mean, that's my understanding of construction. I know it might be against the norm and we want to get the money back from the developers and stuff, but I feel like perhaps if we consider going for the grant and the language in the grant is not, doesn't hem us in to where we have to receive all of the grant funds back. And we can put, as a town, decide to put some skin in the game financially. I don't know if that's something you've thought about or not.
We have, and my intent from day one was not to put any town's taxpayer money into this, other than if we already put money into the rec commission and to the school for sports, right? We have sports teams and we have to travel, like tonight, the basketball team's traveling to Portland. That was an expense. That's in the school budget. Our rec teams have admission fees to play in the Groton League and so forth. So we do run rec programs, and the town does contribute to the rec budget and to the school budget. So the skin in the game would be our usage of this facility and how many of our teams would use it. And maybe different towns would use it to different levels. Like I mentioned, Stonington had a flag football league in the Mystic Indoor Sports before it closed. They paid $18,000 for 10 consecutive weeks on Sundays from 11 to 5 for that flag football league, and they had 160 kids playing that. That doesn't happen anymore because when they closed, they lost their facilities. Nowhere else they can do that. This town's never put that kind of money into rec. And I don't see that changing
I
at
have a
this point.
4-year-old, so I'm gonna be here for a long time. So I'm just thinking about the future, and having a dome, I think would be great, so I
So would you
think-
say of a young child?
Yes, I have a 4-year-old son.
So for everyone that has a 4-year-old, there's someone that's retired.
Right.
That's saying, well, wait a minute.
Have you
why
met Brian in the front row?
am-
So, I mean, I think like if there's a guarantee that this is super profitable and there's no risk at the town, this is what my third term, it makes me super nervous investing town funds into a business, especially a business that we don't have sole control over.
Right.
Because if we lose those funds, listen, we are budget season, we are fighting tooth and nail for every single dollar just to fund the school and the town operations. So, I think if we all had a crystal ball and we could say, Jesus, in 15 years, this thing could be super profitable and we could lower our mill rate because we'd have a ton of revenue coming in. But there's always the what if it isn't. What if it falls apart? What if and we're out for me as a selectman and a steward of all of our money, I think it makes me a little nervous. So if we can at least have a little skin in the game, right, and some protection and some rights in the business through this grant with zero town money, that to me would be the best of both
I think
worlds.
the language in the grant is critical. I don't know if it's specific to fully receive money back from the developer, but I mean, I think tabling it tonight is a good idea. Talk to the
You said it
lawyers.
was a good idea or not a good idea?
No, I think right now, tonight, I think revisiting this is a good idea after more research and discussion with the lawyers. But all in all, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a wonderful project. I hope it comes to fruition, but we just don't want to go down a path we can't get back from. That's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
And just one other thing, I just want to make sure from an infrastructure, traffic especially, that, right, so Route 2 at times, especially weekends, right, we know the congestion that can happen. We're going to have the casino, we have Great Wolf Lodge, and we're going to have the sports dome. I just want to make sure, and I don't know who in town can do, I don't know if P&Z kind of, probably not, would do any kind of a study, but I think we need, it's not like families are going to be moving into town because we have a sports dome here and we have to worry about affordable housing and other things. But just from an infrastructure, where are they getting their water from? I'm assuming they are going to be completely self-sufficient
Mhm.
with a well on the property.
And septic.
How is that impacting anything? Again, I understand it's not our land And whether or not we're involved in it, it's going to happen anyway. But we should understand the impact it's going to have on roads and any
Before
infrastructure.
they'd have to get their traffic studies and all that stuff done before they get passed through planning and zoning.
Okay,
They'd have to have the traffic studies.
so
just
they've
like-
not gone to P and
No,
Z
they
yet.
haven't
Okay,
even got that far. So even like with the winery on Winnetou, they had to get all the traffic studies done before.
okay.
They have to get the traffic studies and make sure that it would.
I'm sorry, say that again? So do you remember where the Fox Trails Inn is? The old white inn on the right hand side, it's old colonial home as you're going towards Foxwoods, just before you leave town. Yes, before Milltown.
Right after right after
After
Yerington,
Yerington, up to Henry Watson's, and
on
it's
the
on the
left,
right.
on that same side as Yerington's.
Yeah, that's the old Fox Trails Inn. That was an inn for years. They own
But on the
that.
other
but
side,
They own the other side too. So
that's where,
yes.
yes, the same side as Great Wolf Lodge and the casino. Yes.
No.
Well, a couple
no.
of years ago they did.
Yeah, but maybe but
did-
but they haven't cleared any land of their own yet. So there is a whole sign that says like future hotel or something.
Yeah.
That's not their property. It's just before that.
Oh, that's not their
No,
property?
it's just before.
So that's
that.
exactly where I thought it was going.
Just before that.
Just before it.
Okay.
But
All right,
part of
so
theirs-
should,
Part of theirs is off of Winnetou. They have an entrance off of Winnetou that they can get like, when they came for a variance in front of P and Z, they had an entrance off of Winnetou where they can only get so far on, but they had a Winnetou address too for that same property.
aha, okay.
Brian?
Yeah, I figured I'd better say something since my name came up.
Your name comes up a lot.
But I do have a couple of comments.
Sure.
I think one is we're basically partnering with this Domex people. I know nothing about them. I don't know how much you know about them. Are they connected to the Mashatuckets? Are they?
They're not.
We don't know.
We do know. They're not connected at all. Matter of fact, they don't get along with the
Okay,
Mashatuckets.
But I understand years ago, the Mashatuckets used to get different ones with different names, and they were making their deals. I'm very
Are you
scared.
sure,
of-
are you sure they're not any partnership with the Mashatuckets?
Okay, yeah,
No, they're
all
not.
right. My biggest concern is when I hear there's no cost to our town. To me, that's a first red flag for me. When people tell me there's no cost, come on.
So we're not
There's gotta
saying,
be a cost.
so we're
And
not
then-
saying there's no cost, saying there's no cost in the construction of the project. The cost comes in the usage of the building.
Well, I'm just,
So there is a cost to the town if we're gonna use the building. They're not gonna let us use it for free. So there is a cost to the town to use the building like there is now to subsidize rec and the high school sports teams and the middle school sports teams.
Right. My point is, there's gonna be red flags all the way along. I heard us compare it to the yellow brick road. Well, there was a lot of, whatever you wanna call them, before they got to the grand.
And that's why I use that as an example, Brian, because I think there is red flags and it's our job to vet those out. But I think that if there's any, can you name a project, a really good project that could come to town and there wouldn't be some skepticism? Like even the EB building coming to town, there's still questions about that.
Right.
So
And you're saying we're gonna get taxes, which that would be great. But I think I heard somebody say, well, suppose they sell it to Mashatuckets, we don't get any taxes then?
So no, that's not the case. Things would have to happen. The Mashatuckets would have to buy it, and then that land would have to go into a federal trust to become tax free. But right now, the federal government is not allowing the tribe to put land that's not on the reservation into federal trust. So there'd be a lot of laws that would have to change before that happens.
All right, I'm just saying, watch all these red flags. I'll tell you, $25 million. Now, suppose we do apply for it and we get it. Is that gonna hurt us with any other grants that our town might need or might want?
Good question.
You know, those things I'd like to know before we even commit to anything like that. Just red flags. Watch the red flags, please. And I really trust you to do that. And I'm so glad that I'm hoping you're gonna table it so you can. We got a lot of questions. I'm just a taxpayer.
So are we, Bry.
I know you are. But I wanted to point that out. Those are my concerns about any kind of money that our town wants to bring in, because it seems like my wallet's getting pretty damn thin about now, especially with the last deal that went through with the state. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comment? Okay, so hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to table.
I will make a motion to table the sports dome resolution grant resolution
Good. And
until the January 6th.
January 6th meeting
Okay.
is. And I will,
I'll second that
okay.
motion.
We have a second. So what I'll do between now and then is I'll talk to the town attorney. And if I get a chance to talk to developers with Sue, I'll have those questions answered about the grant and administration, all that, and make sure we get reimbursed. Okay, those are all good questions. That's a great discussion. And I think those are the kind of discussions we're going to have as this moves forward. I would love to say, this is a wonderful idea. It's just going to plop into town. Never going to cost us anything. We have our kids can all go in there for free and we get a bunch of tax money. That would be perfect. Not going to happen. Okay. Next. Oh, sorry. We
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So motion on floor, all in favor of
You
tabling?
seconded?
You did. All in favor of favoring, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Table to January 6th.
We're
Okay.
getting there, Amy. Hang on.
Well,
I said
We're not gonna have much more time. So. No, you didn't have to because we know
Oh,
you already.
Okay,
but-
I thought the poor thing you had come just for your
So,
appointment.
I wanted to let you know about the transfer station hours in Christmas week.
Yes, my husband will be very happy.
So
to
the
hear.
transfer station hours, I think Phil and Alan are willing to work. They're gonna work Christmas Eve till 4, which I don't know why, but they are willing to do it. And then we're closing Christmas Day, the day after. They're gonna open again on Saturday, so we can get rid of all the empty trash and boxes and paper. The next week, they close on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but then they're open Friday and Saturday. So each of the 2 weeks, they'll be open 2 of those 4 days. The holidays falling on Thursday is the worst possible day it can fall on, just so you know. It doesn't happen again until 2031, because I looked it up. So how do I handle town hall closures? Well, since we've been in office, we've always let the town hall employees have Christmas Eve off, and they already have Christmas Day off because of their contract. I could bring them back on a Friday after having Wednesday and Thursday, and then bring them back the day after Christmas on a Friday, which I think would be very unproductive. And we also have a lot of people on vacation that
Well,
week.
so hang on.
Town hall hours we're looking at.
Yeah, but on the transfer station, Friday, you have 12:26. But on the town hall, it says Friday, 12:25.
Also, my dates are wrong in the town hall. The Thursday's the 25th and
Okay.
Friday's the 26th.
So
Sorry.
so
Typo.
Friday is the
Typo,
26th.
yes.
Okay,
We all know Christmas is on a Thursday. It's actually
I haven't even looked.
1 week from the day after tomorrow.
Day to day.
So change those dates, excuse me, just trying to give you some information. So again, so when I thought about this, we're gonna say, okay, they're gonna have Wednesday, because we've always given them the Christmas Eve off, and Thursday, Christmas Day, with the skeleton crew to begin with, and bringing people back the day after Christmas didn't make a lot of sense to me. Again, this won't happen until we get to 2031, which I will not be the first stipend in 2031. One of you two may be, so remember this. But Thursday's a tough day because you have to bring people back on a Friday. Like if this fell on a Wednesday, you could give them the Tuesday, Wednesday, and they can go back and work Thursday and Friday, which makes more sense to be more productivity. So my would like to do is do the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rather than bring people in and not be productive. A lot of people are taking that week off anyway. And then the following week on New Year's, we will bring the people back on Friday because we all know that New Year's Day, not much happens. Everything happens on New Year's Eve. So we'll close at 2 o'clock on New Year's Eve, close on New Year's Day, and then reopen on that Friday, the day after New Year's. So that's the plan. I wanted you guys to know that's what we wanted to do with the town hall. I don't know if you feel like you want to vote on this or not, or you good with it? I mean, it's up to you.
I don't
Okay.
feel we have to vote on it?
No, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, I've been giving you the opportunity to vote on it. But I just want to give you my reasoning behind it. We are not having we've been having the holiday party for the employees, holiday appreciation party at Chinook Brew. We've done it the last 3 years. It's not going to be before the holidays because we couldn't find a date that worked for us and the brewery. If they can't get their ovens ready to go for pizza well ahead of time, so we couldn't do it on like a Monday or a Tuesday or what day they're not open. And they're not, I thought, well, what about New Year's Eve? Let's do it that day. And then everybody can go then and go home. They don't open New Year's Eve. So we couldn't, so we might do something after the first of the year with the employee appreciation, get together. We've done that in the past. I couldn't fit it in this year and make it make sense.
I think my calendar is open.
It will be. So, yeah, it's probably more open than mine is now. All right, so that's that's this discussion on that. You have any comment on that? Okay. So don't go to town hall on when it's closed, but the transfer station will be open 2 out of those 4 days on both those weeks. All right, any old business? Yes, we have some appointments too, actually. So I would like to entertain a motion to appoint Amy French to the Board of Assessment Appeals, otherwise known as the BAA.
I'll make a motion to appoint Amy French to the Board of Assessment Appeals.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Amy, do you want to rethink that? You want to rethink that? It is a reval year, just asking. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for volunteering to be on it. And all those in favor of appointing Amy to the Board of Assessment Appeals, say aye.
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 Okay. You have to go get sworn in from Antoinette, that between now and next time you meet, and that all works through Cecile. Okay. The next is Will Mason to Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that it?
Oh.
ZBA?
Zoning Board of Appeals.
I get that. I don't have the hard copy with me, but he did email it, and I think you might have seen it. So I entertain a motion to appoint Will Mason to Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'll make a motion to appoint Will Mason to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I'll let Antoinette know that he's been appointed, and he should know by now that he has to get sworn in because he's on other boards and commissions. Okay, is there any public comment on pretty much anything that you want to speak about, with the exception of HB 8002? Anybody have any public comment on anything we discussed this evening? Anybody online? Okay, we have a tri-board meeting on the 5th of January. Okay, and this tri-board meeting is chaired by the Board of Education. Those are open to the public.
6 or 6:30? 6?
Huh?
When is tri-board? 6 or 6:30?
That's 6 o'clock. And then we have our next Board of Select meeting on January 6th. And I entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, adjournment is, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.